better defense, better offense, better quality of life. This build has gone from good to great. We've made some skill tree updates, we've added better gear, and we've upgraded our gen levels. And now this build I would classify as being one of the best that I've played this league. Stick around and let's see what we did to make this build really great. Hey guys, this is Civic Dude. Well, as you saw in the intro there, we're now taking on endgame bosses with absolute ease. This build is literally one-shotting bosses, and it just feels so much better, even better than before. We've added better clear speed, better DPS for single targets, better defense, so we now have almost 27,000 armor, and just generally this build feels like it's really coming together. How did we go about making this build better? So some of the main things that I wanted to look at here, I wanted to start with passive tree updates. You'll note here that I'm actually cutting out this entire right-hand side of the tree. I was able to go back and think through some of the details about how am I optimizing the tree, what's really important from over here, and how can I get that without actually traveling all the way over here, because it felt like a lot of wasted passive points to travel all the way over here. So what we have done is I picked up a from nothing jewel, which basically says you can allocate points without being connected to your tree within a small radius of a particular notable or a keystone. So in this case, glancing blows. The thing I wanted to pick up here is parrying motion. Again, this is that huge quality of life node that gives us extra move speed every time that we block. Now that we're picking up nodes on the left-hand side of the tree instead of the right, I needed to change out my amulet installation. So instead of instilling offensive stance, what I'm doing is I'm instilling spiked shield. This being the other node that gives increased attack damage per armor on your shield. These are the two most important nodes from this side of the tree that we picked up. We did have to make a concession of giving up the cooldown recovery rate as well as a little bit of movement speed here, but it is all made up for with parrying motion, so not a big deal. Additionally, the other important improvement that we made was we added an Against the Darkness jewel, specifically for increased maximum life and gain damage as extra fire damage. Because we're already picking up a lot of nodes in this section of the tree, it just made a lot of sense to me to add value to each of these small and notable points. So increased maximum life and extra damage as fire. These, as well as the other gear updates that we made, we're now pushing 4.3k life, which in this game is actually pretty good. We can definitely get higher with like absolute mirror tier gear, but for the budget that we've had now, which at this point I've probably put between, if I'm being honest, probably between 15 and 25 divines into it. But I had a really good Venter's Gamble drop, guys, which sold for a lot of divines, so it allowed me to fund some of this build. But long story short, we're pushing 4.3k life. Without our scavenged plating stacks, we're at 15.8k armor. With our scavenged plating stacks, this goes up to almost 27,000 armor rating, which is really great. You'll see in the clip of the Zesht fight that we do here that we do tank some of his abilities, and he, takes us maybe to half HP. Part of the fight, you'll note, is that this is my first Zesht fight, and so part of the fight here is just me simply understanding and learning what his attacks are. I tried to come into this without spoiling the fight too much for myself, so you'll probably see some like, why is he not blocking? Why is he not doing? That's just because I didn't know the fight. We made some optimizations. I was able to cut out these strength nodes here. You'll remember from the last video that I had told you I was going to pick up this weapon once I gathered more strength. I did gather more strength by picking up these nodes here, but once I changed up the tree, going over here and then changing out my rings for rings that gave me more attributes. So you'll see here that we have pretty high strength rolls. Doing so, along with the belt, yeah, I think the belt, and the gloves here, allowed us to drop these like only strength nodes, which I didn't really like. They're not super high value because they weren't really leading me anywhere that I needed to go. They were just there to pick up the strength. So looking at the gear now, we did pick up that extra weapon, or that better weapon. We did pick up better rings, which I think breach rings are probably the best in slot for almost any build because you can quality them to 50%. Like, why you wouldn't do that is beyond me. I also changed out my gloves for ones with a better dex roll, but also a higher gain life per enemy killed roll. And that, in addition with the gain life and gain mana per enemy killed on the weapon, it just helps sustain life and mana so well in this build. It's just amazing. All right, looking at the gems real quick, we're now at level 90 on our character, which means that we can now fully upgrade our Magma Barrier to a level 20, plus 1 from the Corruption, plus 1 from the Fire Mastery, plus another 16 from the gear and that unique jewel. We're now at a level 38 Magma Barrier, which means that in game, we're looking at a 3.5 million magma spray. If you look in the path of building, it actually tells you that we're at a 5.5, because this right here doesn't include, doesn't factor in the fire penetration. So it doesn't include things like close range or armor being fully broken. So if you factor those things in, we're at 5.5. The only further improvements that I could see being made to this build, other than maybe like min-maxing to the max your rings, would be getting a +6 fire flower, which I did the math in the POB, and that would take our 5.5 million damage and push it to over 10 million damage. So obviously gem levels at this point in the game are huge for DPS. I'm going to leave you guys with a clip of me fighting Zesht and just literally one-tapping him, so you can get an idea for what the bossing capabilities for this build is like. As if you could tell, I'm really excited about this build. It's a very fun one to play. I'm probably not going to be making any more videos on this build just because I've pretty much min-maxed as much as I wanted to with it. It can handle any content in the game, and it is just a really fun playstyle for me. So I'm getting really excited about the Legacy of Frisia League. So if you guys haven't seen that, go check out the updates on the Path of Exile website. It's going to be a very fun league, I think. So here's a clip of me doing Zesht. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you've played this build, I'd love to see what you guys have done with it. And I hope to see you guys in the next one.